So yesterday, the Cowboys released their rookie jersey numbers with the exception of CeeDee Lamb, who is yet to be announced. CeeDee was number 2 in college, and after the draft said he wanted to wear number 10. Jerry Jones said a former college teammate who recently passed away wore 88 in college, and Jones would like to see CeeDee wear that number. Bryant, Drew Pearson, and Michael Irvin also wore 88 for the Cowboys. So, Shannon, in your opinion, are you okay with Jerry encouraging CeeDee to wear 88?
No. I get it, Jerry. I get it. You lost your best friend, but CeeDee Lamb, his dream, he wants to wear number 10. Let him wear the number. Don't impose what you would want on this young man. Allow him to be who he wants to be. Maybe he understands who wore that number. Drew Pearson, Jenny, you mentioned Michael Irvin, Dez Bryant. He wants to carve out his own path. Skip, LSU has a tradition where, I think Pat Peterson wore number 7. Leonard Fournette wore, Honey Badger wore before Leonard Fournette wore the number 7. And I get it, some traditions like number 60 in Texas, Skip. And I know you know the storied history about Tommy Nobis wearing number 60. And they give that number 60 to certain linebackers, but you got to be worthy of that number. But they deem you worthy, and you got to be like, nah, sometimes guys would probably say, nah, I don't want that number. But if he wants to be 10, allow him to be 10. I get it, Jerry, and I'm sorry to hear that you lost a good friend of yours. But his number was 88. CeeDee Lamb might not want to wear 88. So I don't think it would be, I would hope that Jerry doesn't pressure the kid to wear the number because that's what he wants him to wear. Allow him to wear it because he's done it this far, Skip. He's gotten to this point by doing things a certain way. And so allow him, if he wants to wear number 10, allow him to wear number 10 and don't try to steer him into wearing 88.
Okay, so I agree with your premise, but let's go deeper into this. This is another first from Jerry Jones. I have never, ever heard of an owner trying to encourage any new star player, certainly a rookie, to wear a certain number. And the reason Jerry Jones is doing this is because his best friend on the 1964 Arkansas Razorbacks national championship team was named Jerry Lamb. So it's Jerry as in Jerry Jones and Lamb as in CeeDee Lamb. Jerry Lamb was a receiver who wore 88 and was a leader of that team that went 11-0 and beat Nebraska in the Cotton Bowl, then got voted the national champs. Obviously, it was Jerry Jones at offensive guard and Jimmy Johnson, his roommate, just because it was alphabetical order on the road, Jones-Johnson, his roommate was a defensive lineman, defensive end on that team. So Jerry Lamb then went on to become not only a friend of Jerry Jones's, but one of his key advisors through his time of buying and owning and operating the Dallas Cowboys. Very close. So it struck Jerry Jones that Jerry Lamb just passed last January. Oh, well, right on time, we draft a guy who falls out of heaven into our laps named Lamb. Well, then he should wear 88 in honor of Jerry Lamb, my friend and confidant and advisor. Jerry, 88 is sacred. Jerry, it's hallowed. It was worn by a Drew Pearson that I've campaigned for years to get Drew Pearson in the Hall of Fame. He deserves so completely to be in the Hall of Fame. He made most of the greatest catches in Cowboy history. Drew Pearson caught the Hail Mary from Roger Staubach that beat the Vikings, sorry, Jenny, in a playoff game. It was a little controversial, but it was the Hail Mary. Yep, you can argue, but it was the Hail Mary. And then 88 was worn by a man I have argued is the greatest wide receiver ever and was the leader and the rocket fuel of 3 championship teams through the 90s that should have been 5 or 6 straight championship teams. And then all of a sudden it goes to a Dez Bryant who was sort of unopposed at receiver at that point when he was drafted late in the first round in the Tebow draft. And yet he embraced 88, lived up, stood up to it, And from 2012 through 2014, Des Bryant, to me, was the best receiver in football and led all receivers through those 3 years in touchdown catches with 41. So he lived up to 88. Let's see. We go Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, Des Bryant, CeeDee Lamb. So, Shannon, it reminds me of the line, I don't think you know Talladega Nights, but one of my favorite movies, in which Michael Clark Duncan says to Will Ferrell's character, Ricky Bobby, "Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby." Well, Jerry, don't you put that evil on CeeDee Lamb, because it's unfair. It's a lot to ask of a kid who fell into your lap. You hadn't even really interviewed him. You had him number 6 on your board, and he fell to you at 17. And now you're going to put that evil on him, so to speak, that number 88. It's a lot to live up to. It's a lot of early pressure and expectation that he probably doesn't deserve. Look, if he's as good as I think he is, he'll be just fine with it. But Shannon, to your point, he chose 10 because his idol is DeAndre Hopkins. He plays a lot like DeAndre plays.
He does.
I'm not saying he's going to even be DeAndre. I think he's got a chance, but that's who he wants to be. Okay, so why wouldn't you just give in? It's not a big enough deal to him to honor your friend Jerry Lamb by wearing 88 when he already chose 10. Yeah, it's just
Skip.
Jerry. It's Jerry going off the rails again here. It's what's happening.
Skip, the way I look at it, and I don't want to sound crass, but Jerry, you want to honor him. CeeDee Lamb wants to honor DeAndre Hopkins by wearing the number 10.
Yeah.
You want to honor him. That's not CeeDee. That's not CeeDee Lamb saying, "Okay, Jerry, I want to honor that guy for you."
No.
That's not what he said. He says, "I want number 10." So because you want to honor him, you bestow, "Okay, I want to honor him, so I want to see 88 on your back and see Lamb. So every time I see Lamb, I'm thinking about my old friend." Huh? No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, because people will fairly quickly forget, oh, wait a second, Jerry asked him to wear this. A lot of people will leap to the conclusion, oh, he chose to wear 88 because he thinks he's Drew Pearson plus Michael Irvin plus Des Bryant.
Right.
I don't know. I hope Jerry backs off this one. Let this young man be who this young man wants to become, and he wants to become DeAndre Hopkins. I'm great with that. Can he live up to being 88? Sure he can. But Jerry, I know it seems like a heaven-sent coincidence. Jerry Lamb, CeeDee Lamb, 88. I got it.
Right.
Don't do it. Back off. Leave him be. Let him be who he wants to be.
Skip, one of the main reasons that I ended up going to Savannah State, I told my head coach, he came to recruit me, Bill Davis at the time, I said, "I want the number 2. He said, "Son, whoever has number 2," because my brother was number 2 at the University of South Carolina. He says, "Whoever has that number, you can get it." Okay, I was 81. I was number 1 starting out in the NFL. I was 81 for 2 years. When Ricky Nattiel, who was 84, who was a first-round draft pick, when he left, I went to Dan's office. I said, "Dan, can I get 84? Because my brother's 84 and you know what he means to me." He's like, "Sure." Skip, I'd have been very disappointed had Dan said, "Well, you know what, Shannon? A good friend of mine used to wear 85. I kind of want you to wear 85. Will you wear 85? Hell no. I said, I want to be 84. I want to honor my brother. I understand that's a personal connection with you, but Skip, I don't have the same personal connection.
Right. So remember, in the NFL, you have to wear 10 to 19 as a wide receiver or 80 to 89 as a wide receiver.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
You can't wear number 2. They won't allow a wide receiver. You know, obviously, CeeDee was number 2 as you were in college, but he probably would love to wear number 2 in pro football, and they say, we don't do that. Okay? All right? So number 10 was open because number 10 last year was Tavon Austin. He is no longer on the roster. I miss him. I still like him. But he is still a free agent. I don't know how that's going to play out, but he is not a Cowboy anymore. 10 is available without him having to, quote unquote, negotiate for number 10. It's there. Let him have it.
And you know, another thing is, Skip, is that you kind of want to get a number and make your own identity out of that number. You don't want to go, think about trying to get a number that all these other greats have worn in 88. How do you distinguish yourself? So for me, it was about getting a number and making that number what it became. My brother was 3 in high school. I wore 3. I was 2 in college, where they retired the number 2 at my school and at my brother's school. I had 84 because he had 84. I wanted to make a number that, 84 for the Broncos. So when you see 84 at the Broncos, they think, hey, they think, hey, oh, me. 88. Oh, Michael Irvin wore that number. Drew Pearson wore that number. Dez Bryant wore that number. What's the speciality? What